I mean, it's a bit weird because there's so less dead money in the middle. I'm gonna raise here. Just think that if he would have a strong hand, he would just be raising again. What's up, guys? Welcome to today's live play. As you can see, we're not grinding tournaments, we're grinding multi-table sit and goes, something that has been requested now for a long time. So today on Tuesday, I decided to record low stakes and mid stakes multi-table sit and goes. I have also $1,000 6-max hyper turbo sit and go running, and yeah, we are playing these 80 player turbo sit and goes, and as well these 27 to 180 player turbo multi-table sit and goes on demand. So we have the first interesting spot. I think pre-flop flop very standard. Flop we have to call, and now on the turn I'm gonna raise. His sizing looks very much like a flush draw, like a block bet, and I definitely want to charge him for his draws. I think if he has, let's say, jacks, tens, that is betting thin for value, I'm not going to get any more value on the river anyway, and now we have a very easy call. And yeah, he seems to be very creative. This sort of hand, I think he will, if I call it, just very often goes check forward on the river. He might have been the type of player that might have jammed or check jammed the river with a blocker. But here it's important that, let's say, if you want to make a move, with ace-6 suited or ace-4 suited, blocking 6s and 4s. Blocking 8-5 is very irrelevant because I'm not playing 8-5 suited here, so his 8s blocker aren't really are not really beneficial. So he should rather, let's say, if he has 7-8 suited or ace-7 suited and he decides to block bet the turn, he could jam the river with 7-8 suited if he wants to make a move. But probably he just wants to check his entire range on the river to me. Lots of limping happening here, so then I already start tagging some players as recreational. Very creative. C-bet plus block bet OP 8-8 on King 6-4-7 plus donk jam river ace after calling turn raise. Here I'm just gonna fold, even though I have a gut short. My outs can be very dirty. Here in the 1K sit and go, it's definitely a very close open race, but there are two big recreationals in the blinds, and it's actually a very good 1K sit and go. We have 3 recreational players here. And you will see me playing very straightforward, not necessarily very tight, but I'm going to be very careful about bluffing. I will be very selective. I think there are a lot of spots where you should be under bluffing, there are a lot of spots where you should be over bluffing, and it's very important to keep an eye on these spots. If I want to be raising here from the big blind, would be mainly hands like I think here we're too short against the 3x. We're gonna start with, if I'm deeper, if I'm 100 bigs deep, I would certainly bet a little bigger. Would be betting very polarized in this spot. I have very little hands that need protection, so I very often either have trips or nothing. So I don't need necessarily to have so many small sizings in my range. But here, if I bet, if I min bet the flop, I can still get it in. Like, say he calls, the pot is 180, I can still bet 2/3 on the turn and can comfortably get it in. I think I'm going to take a small step here once the pre-flop aggressor checks to me. I believe that I will be good a decent amount of the time, and if it feels to me the only street where I really have the likelihood of taking down the pot. And on some runouts, I think I would play this as a 3-bet here. I prefer 3-betting rather strong hands. That's a very bad river. I also think if he, let's say, has ace jack with ace and spades, he would just naturally check to me, try to take his showdown. Yeah, I think sevens also plays as a flat, but I think we still have a decent amount of showdown value here. Or he floats with jack 10 off, so he definitely gets the recreational node. And I even get a little bit of value from those hands that still have good equity, but I think if he has an 8, he's probably going to check shove anyway on me. So I want him to call, let's say, with overcards and backdoor flush draw. Pocket 5 is the bottom of my open raising range here. Don't want to be open raising too many pairs, especially against a pool full of recreational players. We're actually quite deep. I think I'm going to peel against the min raise. These hands perform very well against the Broadway heavy range. I also think that especially on lower stakes, people aren't barreling as aggressive as they're supposed to. And I'm definitely going to check raise this flop. I think he will be c-betting his entire range, which consists a lot of Broadways, like king, queen, queen, jack, and clubs. Unless he bets big. Against the sizing, I'm calling once. And check to him. Don't expect too many flush draws betting big. I think he would probably size it down with his flush draws quite often. And we just shove nines, unfortunately. Very standard. You will see that incident goes very often. And I think he will very often be on a one pair hand, so I'm definitely gonna go for some value here. Against his ace tens, ace queens, ace kings. And we're busted in the 1K sit and call. Let's see if we can fire another one. And if he shoves, I can comfortably fold. I would consider hero calling with a hand like ace 10, 10 in hearts, where I have some blockers to the flush draw. 8-7 suited from this position. Yeah, again, from early middle position in these lower stakes, I prefer playing a little bit tighter. I think people are flatting a lot of hands they're not supposed to flat, like 10-7 suited or jack 8 suited here from cutoff and hijack. And then I would rather prefer raising a hand like king 7 or king 8 suited in these lineups. I'm gonna go for a small bet just to fold out some equity hands. I think king high, king 9 high type of boards are really good for my range. Now he bets very small. I'm very tempting to easy call with ace king here to raise him, but I also think that we still might be good enough sometimes against his ace tens and queen jacks and jack tens. Especially when he snap bets to the river, I think he's probably gonna think a little bit about bluffing and what hands to bluff. I mean, we get a very decent price, and he has all sorts of queen jacks, jack tens, flush draws. I think people would bluff with a little bigger sizing. Oops. I'm thinking about limping or raising. I'm gonna limp in this hand. With these bottom hands that perform very well in the multi-way pot around 10 to 15 big blinds, I think it's fine to limp in. Here against a 3x open raise and 3x call, I'm just gonna fold the big blind. It's not gonna be profitable to defend this hand multi-way. Definitely gonna raise this hand. Sixes I'm also gonna fold here for 22 bigs. If this guy raises, I would just fold. Since there's so many short stacks and they will have a hard time flatting, I'm just gonna min raise. I don't know how long this video will be. Maybe I'm gonna split it into 2 parts, or I will make a separate session where I will just play the late game. because I haven't been playing these multi-table tournaments for a while. So if they go like 3 hours or 4 hours, might be a little too long. I think checking back is fine. He has a perfect stack size to check shove any pair on me. I definitely want to realize my equity with this hand. And we can easily call a turn bet. This is actually great river and probably one of the hands we want to be bluff catching with. He has a ton of queen high, 10 high, 8 high, jack high flush draws. And I think it's super easy to overbluff this spot. He has all the 6-7, 6-8s. All sorts of gutters with 3x, 6x. So this is a spot where we should definitely be calling the river. Even though it's low stakes, I think this is a spot where we have to put in the money and make the call. King queen suited, we can do both. We can either go for a reshove, we can go for flat, but I think in theory we want to mainly be reshoving, folding out a lot of ace-10s and ace-9s. There's already almost 300 in the middle, but I think here in lower stakes people are going to be a little bit weaker post-flop, so I slightly prefer the flat call. Interesting flop. I think here for 20 bigs, shoving would probably show a slight profit. Okay, that's definitely a very interesting lead. And what you also need to understand is that on low stakes you will end up more often in situations that you're not used to, that someone randomly leads flops where he's not supposed to lead. He might. Oh, he's a rag. I think then I'm starting with a bet where I can on any 10, any king, where I can keep applying pressure, especially with the 9 in clubs. And this board smashes my range so much that I definitely want to start betting. Yeah, ace king here, very easy reshove. Unfortunately, we bust. The variance, I mean, since it's very often more than 100 players, you will have a couple of tournaments where you won't be cashing at all. So this can be sometimes very devastating. Jack 10 off, I'm gonna try a cheap steal here. Oops. And doesn't work out. And I think the patience on these stakes is very important, just to be waiting for good hands, playing rather tight in the early game. Of course, trying here and there to steal with some good blockers, some good playable hands. But all in all, you just play very straightforward. Wow, okay, this guy is crazy. He called 4-bit jams, 30 big blinds, 4-4. That's definitely not a good play. And usually what I like to do is when I play low stakes, or when I used to play sit and goes in general, regardless of the stakes, I screen the lobbies for players that play. I was actually about to say that we should just be open folding, but no, this guy is limping all the time, but I would probably be shoving ace-8 off and ace-5 suited in the spot. It's still chip EV, so we can play fairly aggressive when we get shorter with a lot of shoving. This guy min raises into me, so I'm definitely gonna call. And we can fold the turn. If he would have checked to me, I think I would have stepped, because on any 7, any spade, we can shove on him. He might be check calling with an ace high or king high. But in general, I'm very, very careful when someone raises with less than 10 big blinds out of position. Not giving insane amount of credit, but definitely giving some credit. It's a board that also sometimes wants to check back because Villain has a chunk of 3x in his defending range, but I'm definitely going to go for a bet. I don't expect people on low stakes check raising here, 20% frequency. And we also have some opportunities to barrel on any ace 10 jack, ace 10 9, 2 overs. This guy is also crazy. I think 10-8 off, I'm gonna limp in. And ace-8 off, I'm gonna raise. This is a board I definitely don't want to take a stab. There's just too much 4x and 5, especially when they limp and check back. They are connecting a lot with those boards. I mean, it's ace high, but a lot of gut shots, a lot of floatable hands. Usually 10-8 off would not be a limp there, but I expect people not being as aggressive as they're supposed to. I'm gonna take a bet here. Don't mind checking. I think I'm gonna over-realize my equity here. Oh, there are breaks. For the multi-table goes. Yeah, I'm just gonna take my shot on value, I think. Yeah, it's very unfortunate. Was he defending from the small blind? Unfortunately, I can't see it anymore. So we're 13 players left here. We have 2 18-player sit-and-goes. No, sorry. Yeah, 2 and 3. 27 to 180. No, it's actually 4. So in general, it's a good format to build a bankroll, I think. Yes, there's some variance. I mean, we play poker, but I think from all formats, it's very... Can you send me a hug? I don't know if he means a hug or... Yeah, that's a good call. So I think from all formats, especially when you're new to sit-and-goes or new to poker, I think this multi-table sit-and-goes are very good because you don't play so... because you play rather tight in the early game. You just wait for good spots. You should just play for value. There's a lot of recreational players. And then the shorter you become, there is just a lot of reshoving and open shoving happening. So the game is not as complex as tournaments. So I would always advise players to to start with a format that is rather simple and not so complex. Sit-and-goes, 6-max sit-and-goes, there's a lot of ICM happening right here as well, but there's a lot of early game happening. And that means that the simpler the game, I'm not saying it's easy. I think it's easier to play. There's not so much complexity. If you play 100 big blind cash game, I mean, playing 100 big blind poker is quite complex. So I think this format gives you a great opportunity to learn poker, to learn post-flop as well, like 50 to 75 big blinds, but you're going to be quickly around 20 to 30 big blinds. And when you have hit a decent hand, you go broke, and if not, you let it go. It sounds very simple, but I try to draw a picture for you that should show you that this is a suitable format to really that you can learn quick and build a bankroll, right? I think in sit and goes and also in cash game and 6-mix sit and goes, it takes a little longer to learn the game properly in order to make money. Here I'm going to call it off against hijack. I'm going to call it off against cutoff. I'm going to fold against button, small blind, big blind against the reshove. I mean, usually I'm a bit more careful facing reshoves around 15 big blinds, but I think that that people still call a lot of suited broadways, which are supposed to reshoves. I would be calling ace jack suited and ace queen here against him. Ace jack off, I'm just folding. I think I will be way too often dominated. And so far this guy was not so aggressive. I mean, maybe I missed a hand. If I see him doing something really crazy, I mean, okay, this is pretty standard. And apart from this, I haven't really seen anything. Ten-5 suited, I'm just open shoving. I think we can limp behind. And we're gonna start betting for value. I believe that both ranges are relatively weak. However, there are a lot of very, very natural calls that will call regardless of the sizing. So I don't want to make it too small. I think if he has a pair and a flush draw, he will call regardless. We can easily be bluffing with 10-9 or diamonds. So if he has something like 10-8 with it, let's say 8 in diamonds, or he has Queen-7 with queen and diamonds. I mean, his limping range, yeah, can be whatever. So we should definitely be betting big. This guy is very short. 3x open. It's close, but I think it's fine. Ace-5 off, 10 big blinds. Blind versus blind. We will for sure go broke. Doesn't look so well. I think I'm just gonna open shove here for 12 big blinds. Button is very short. Of course we're gonna call, try to hit our gut shot. I mean, there's already so much dead money in the middle, and this guy min-raised already prior. Although I usually would perceive that as very strong. I'm gonna take a step here against this ace high or queen jacks that are giving up. I'm gonna make a tight fold here. Under the gun limp, under the gun +1 open raise. I think it's fairly close. Don't want to give him the opportunity to bluff into me with his queen jack. I want to take down the pot right away. If he calls, I think I'm nice stack. A king jack suit, I'm just gonna open shove here. 8 big blinds, pretty standard. This guy also limps a ton, so we can tag him as a recreational player. And I always try to adjust my preflop ranges according to the players. Yeah, I'm very short. I think I'm just gonna fold, even though the price is really good. But 10-7 off performs against all the ranges, like 10-9s and queen 10s, jack 10s, not so well. Oh, we are in the final table. 6 out of 9. I mean, it's just 18 players, so you reach the final table quite often. But now we're getting closer and closer to the money, so there will be some ICM considerations to make. King 6 suited, very easy fold. And I think especially in the early game, it's very important that you... Okay, that's an easy fold as well. I think 6-4 off, I'm just gonna... I mean... This is a much better hand to defend multi-way than 10-7 off, so it's close. Let's... This raise looks very, very strong, to be honest. I don't know, I think it's 10s, jacks, ace, queen, ace, king very, very frequently, where he just wants to... It looks too strong to shove and he still wants to use some calls. Usually I would always be calling. But I think I'm gonna make a tight fold here. I don't believe he's raising 10-9 suited with that sizing. I think he would be shoving. Also a hand like ace-9 suited. I think pocket eights, all these hands where I'm performing really well against would just be shoving. The V of defending those hands also comes from sometimes being a hand against some of his open raises. I think he very often is on queens or tens. Or yeah, eventually jacks. 9-8 suited, very easy defend. 6-4 suited, I'm gonna call. I'm just gonna check down. I think there can be easily, like even his bluffs I'm dead against. I think that's a very good open raise. Very interesting. I think a lot of players would shove, but that's what I kind of expected, that even if he's bluffing, it's like king 10s or queen 10s, and I don't perform so well against that. I think pretty standard here to lead with my flush against unknowns. I think we can do both here. We can check back, we can bet. This guy is regular. Just gonna limp. You definitely want to be checking back this board texture sometimes. I think I'm gonna raise small. It makes my life easier on a lot of rivers. So if he steps a club, or even if he steps a 7, I over-realize some equity now. And I'm investing 220 chips rather than eventually hero calling the river. Yeah, and I'm getting a bit of value from his clubs here. I'm just gonna shove. Because now if, let's say we bet and now he bets the river, bombs to the river, we have to fold, right? Gonna peer once. And of course now we go broke and he calls king queen. That's very interesting. I think I just want to be shoving here. I don't want this hand to be checked around from their jack 9s or queen 10s. I'm just gonna open shove ace 9 here. Ace 6 off, 8 big blinds here. We're effectively jamming from the hijack because this guy is extremely short, so I think I'm just gonna open shove. It's definitely very close. So if this guy would have a normal stack, I would probably just fold in this hand. and that was a very important pot because we were about to get very short. Fortunately, no more sit and goes are. There's actually a 2K sit and go about to start, and a 1K hyper. I think it's also important, since these bubbles are huge, to look out for decent spots to put yourself in a chip lead position. Of course, you don't want to force it and you don't want to go totally crazy, but if there's a spot where, let's say, it's a little bit break even-ish, then it's definitely worth it going for it. Queen 10 off. It's quite marginal. Yeah, 9-7, I'm gonna give up. Could be bluffing on a river club. If this guy jams, I think he will be jamming any pair against the button limp. He was limping all the time. Here, where I can face a lot of check jams, I'm just gonna limp behind. I think I'm gonna call. Here we have an easy shove. 8.5 big blinds. And we have enough shot on value to check it back. Oh, he should be shoving pre-flop this hand. That was definitely very, very tight. Turn is quite interesting. I think we can do both. We can bet small for protection. We can check. We have to call here. I think I'm gonna check back. I don't see too much value in betting here. And I think even river is very close for value betting. He could be easily check shoving all his flush draws. I think mainly queen highs, jack high floats would be betting now. It's only ace deuce, ace 4 I'm ahead against. He might not be floating. He has a bunch of flushes and king x he's low playing with. And yeah, 5, it's not easy if he's calling all 5x hands. I think he should be raising this hand very frequently on the flop. This hand needs a lot of protection, so. And we have an easy shove here. Wow, I could still have 10s or ace queen. Luckily he doesn't have 10s. Definitely puts us in a better position. I'm gonna raise the jack 6 off here. Pocket aces. If some of these players open raise, I think it's a great opportunity to slow play and just call. Or we also take this one. I don't understand this overcall, to be honest. That's a very bad overcall. I mean, my overcalling range is 8s plus. That's definitely a very bad overcall. I mean, he's really shoving deuces plus. My overcalling range is 8s plus and like ace jack suited plus. So And he also snap called. So he's probably not really aware of ranges at all. Queen 10 off here. This guy, I think he has been limping quite a lot. Let's see. He limps King 10 off and stuff. Yeah. I think his king high floats we might get out of the way on the river. So I definitely want to take my showdown value here, and not my showdown value, but my flush, because I don't want to shove into trips. I think if he has a king high, we can bluff him off king high on the river, and now we can easily shove. I mean, it's only ace 5, ace 3, ace deuce, so we easy shove for value. He only has 700 behind. Wow, wow, straight flush. We're getting wrecked today. Straight flush. Spect. That's definitely a very good hand. Better than my hand. Ace 7 off, I'm definitely gonna fold here. Definitely need to have strong reads that this would be a steal. I would try to steal a hand like ace 9 off to raise fold with, or even king 9 suited or king 8 suited. In case we get called, we still have decent equity. That's very close. Did we see the guy open shoving something earlier? I'm leaning a little bit more towards folding, to be honest. Ace 9 off, we're happy to in-get. And I think ace 9 suited here. With his deck size, I think he's shoving any ace. And even all the broadways we usually perform very well against. And we make runner flush. And king queen suited. If we open raise, we're gonna reshove. Yeah, it's a great spot. We still have a lot of fold equity. If we get called, we have good equity. Pretty standard reshove here. Ace jack, I'm gonna, yeah, here late position. I'm definitely gonna raise call, I think, against everyone. If he shoves, we also have to call it off. Interesting flop. I think I go for the check back, and here I'm just gonna shove my king 8 suited. He limp forward, still limp forwards. That's very interesting. And very easy call. If he bets river, it gets very dicey as well. But I think we can just interesting bet. Yeah, I think it's fine. Ace 8 suited, I'm just gonna go ahead and c-bet. I think we can barrel a lot of turns against pairs and better ace highs. Ace 7 off, we have an easy shove. I definitely want to be raising here. Slightly over 3x is totally fine because we're going to be raising mainly polarized. And also, not necessarily because we're raising polarized, but his range is either he's not supposed to limp a hand like 10-9 suited. He's just supposed to shove it. So he's either folding or calling. Against that range, we don't need to raise that big. You can raise, you can limp, but I think people on low stakes aren't limping as much as raising against limps as much as they're supposed to. Or another final table, but we're very short. Something like final table bubble here. Yeah, I think he should be calling this hand. Yeah, we're not running so well today, but that's part of sit and goes. You need to run well in those all-in spots as well. And queen 3 off here, we're gonna call. We have to gamble. King 7 suited, we would have a decent first in shoving spot. Yeah, I think I'm gonna call. I mean, we have less than 2 big blinds. What are we waiting for? Oh, we're live. We're even live. GG. King 5 off, I'm also going to open shove. It's roughly 5 big blinds. We definitely need to do something. These are the spots where it's totally fine. This guy has been min raising a lot. Like a lot. Dog. I think I'm going to shove. I think he's just trying to steal the blinds cheaply. And this time he has it. Yeah, sometimes you're wrong with your reads. Jack. Definitely very interesting that he min raises with less than 10 big blinds with ace queen off. He was probably hoping to induce me. But that happens. Sometimes you're wrong with your read. And king 9 suited, very easy open shove. This is a board I'm gonna be checking back with. I'm gonna bet big on the turn. I think people aren't check shoving a hand like Jack 10 or 10-9 against the lead bet, but very often naturally calling, and I want to extract maximum value against that. He still has ace 10, ace 9, ace 8, so I don't know if we can go for a small bet eventually. I mean, he has a lot of king queens, queen 10s, jack 10s. I feel like I'm inducing a check shove and then I'm leveling myself into calling. But I also feel like that his range is so defined. Like, he's not having ace king or ace queen that often. I think ace jack, ace 9 very often just jams the turn. So I just try to get some value from a queen. If he jams, I'm... Oh my god, does he really have the king 10? We're splitting it. I mean, ace 10 could be possible. Let's see. King jack. Yeah, we're not running so well in all-ins today. It's just one of these spots where I think that if... I mean, I would still jam. I call the jam on the river. If he jams, it's gonna get more nastier, but I think this is he will always call his jack X and queen X on the turn, and mostly jam ace jack, ace queen, ace 9, and also sets or even straights. People don't slow play strong hands as often as they should out of position. Oh, we're on the bubble here, by the way. We should keep an eye on the other stacks. We somehow need to manage to pick up the blinds once, at least once. And his value range is so small. It's basically just king 10. The river bet is definitely very greedy, and against a better opponent I would probably not betting the river. Oh, we have another 1k sit and go. So yeah, the question is, do they just always have it or not? But I just think the value range is just way too narrow, and there's so many hands he could be fucking around with, like Jack 10, 10 9, Queen 10, King Queen, King Jack, King 9 suited. Even pocket 10s might just be calling pre-flop. We are quite deep. Yeah, sometimes people call it. Oh my fucking god. This is always ace queen plus. Like, I think we have to call a fold. I really hope small blind calls. This would make my life so much easier. He's supposed to jam on the pure bubble with 11 big blinds into 2-3 bigger stacks. Basically ace queen plus and 10s plus. Like, he should never shove king jack, king queen, ace 10. So I'm gonna fold. We're getting insanely good price, but the risk premium is way too high here. So maybe I'm gonna analyze it afterwards. I prefer to put in my money now with king first suited against cutoff range, because he will shove close to any 2. Like, we're gonna blind out. Like, this is for sure minus EV. The question is how much minus EV you want to take. Thing is, the other guy, we're gonna blind down before him. And the point is that every hand we're open shoving, people are gonna call. And I feel like just from a naturalist approach, even though it's very, very minus EV, don't get me wrong, that here with his suited king against the almost any 2 range, I'm performing much better than... yeah, okay, if both call, it's of course even worse. Maybe we have some showdown value with a 4. King queens, queen jacks, no, for sure. GG. In the next hand we would have been auto in, I think, just from a natural understanding that even though this spot is very minus EV, that this is one of the spots where we have to gamble. Because the other stacks, they have twice as much as we have. So we would be all auto all in with pretty much a garbage hand, very likely, right? And this guy is sitting before us, so we're not gonna get first in button and cut off that frequently. So if we even if we have a hand like ace 5 off, it's still gonna be minus V to open shove because we don't have fold equity anymore. So I prefer to get it in against the very right range than open shoving. But definitely a very interesting spot. The ace jack off was also very interesting. I'm gonna finish this table, and I'm gonna close these 2 tables. I'm gonna finish the sit and go here and this, and then we're gonna wrap up the session. Next time I try to fire up a few more tables and then hopefully have a few more deep runs where we will have maybe some short-handed game when we are already in the money. How to adjust against certain opponents, a few more ICM spots. Interesting, he leads flop, leads turn. 6-9 suited, I'm just gonna be open limping the button. I think it's not strong enough to open raise. Especially against the 4x open raise. Maybe we get a 1k spin and go running. Or at least a $500. Easy fold with a king 5 off here. I'm not a big fan of his 4x defend. I think if a recreational player 4x is there, it's very, very much defined towards ace kings, ace queens, and then tens, jacks, queens, kings. He's not having hands like ace 5 off, which makes the defend with 7-9 suited much better. Queen 9 suited if, yeah, I think, let's see what happens. Definitely also interesting tell. When you know that he's 4xing the cutoff with ace king off, and then he suddenly starts min raising, you can just go insanely crazy against him and reshove off-suited aces, because you know that ace king off is not going to be in his range, and then very likely jacks and ace queen off type of hands neither. So we can check it down and go for a river bet, or we can. The reason why I think we don't need to protect is that I think that people would just be betting their flush draws very often. And now we can just value bet the river. And also jack tens. You can go for check, check, bet, or check, bet, check. Well, with back to flush draw would be floating with jack 9 there. It's close. It's definitely very close. Gonna go for a small delayed bet here. And we shove the river. Definitely want to be 3-betting against this guy. He seems to be raising a lot with a lot of weaker hands. Ace deuce off without antes is definitely very close open raise with this deck size. Just gonna be open shoving here, queen 10 off. Limping is fine, and I think I'm just gonna go for a limp. I'm gonna call here. And river, we gonna I think I'm just gonna check shove here with my gutter. Calling, the problem is we have to fold a lot of turns if he second barrels. Yeah, I'm just gonna shove here. I mean, it's a bit weird because there's so less dead money in the middle. I'm gonna raise here. Just think that if he would have a strong hand, he would just be raising again. That's actually so great to see, to be ahead, to run against two ace kings, but still too many aces and kings in the deck. So let's finish this one here. Yeah, against the button shove, we have an easy fold. They're definitely V-pipping a lot from small blind button. Unfortunately, we can't call. We also can't open raise this hand. Here we are third from 11. Still a bit to go to the money. So we are heads up against blooming. I definitely keep in mind that he's raising a lot. Around 20 bigs. 60 is a little bit too weak to defend. I'm gonna check raise this flop against the wide range. Want to be protecting myself against king highs. I think he will be calling a lot of king highs, and if he jams, I'm definitely gonna go broke. If he limps, I'm gonna just shoving 15 bigs here. I'm also gonna check raise this flop. And lead small the turn. I'm gonna second burr the turn. That's a very bad river. I mean, it's pretty much just a 9. I could have jack 9, 10, 9. I mean, I think we still have enough showdown value against the jack, yeah. I'm just gonna shove the turn here, and also just gonna shove the queen jack here. Yeah. I mean, there's just so much equity. Like, pretty much any pair plus draw, he can have a naked king. I'm gonna min raise this guy. I think he's gonna start coming crazy against me. Expecting some 3-bet shoves or very light calls. I'm gonna check back the flop at the turn. I think that flushes would just be shoving very often, and he perceives my range being full of shit. That deserves some applause. Easy reshove here with the ace queen off. Yeah, you're just so happy after such an aggressive dynamic, and then you get such a such a flop. But we're coming back. We're coming back. I'm gonna raise the flop here as well and jam pretty much any turn, especially against someone that is betting close to 100%. I'm just gonna check back here, try to take my I think stacks are fine to steal. We cover big blind and small blind. That's very annoying. I don't think he's folding a 7, to be honest. I think the dynamic is way too aggressive that he would ever fold an 8 or a 3. And he can still have, yeah. Just gonna min bet the flop. Just easy fold on the flop. I think that it's pretty much always a 7. It's a very bad jam, by the way. He should always be raising, because now it makes it so much easier for me to just call like my strongest hands. I mean, it's really hard, but I would be c-betting aces. I have some steals with king 7 suited, 7-8 suited, probably even queen 7 suited. So I would call my 7x. Yeah, and I think it's just never a bluff. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up. As I said, next time I will record a little bit. I will start playing before I record, so I hope we're gonna have a couple of deep runs. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and then if you have any questions, comments, let me know. Bye bye. Ciao.